Hello there, and welcome back to another Stop and Go F1 race reactions, this time for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Again, a slightly whispered version, the ASMR version of the race reactions, because it's 5 to 6 in the morning, which is later than yesterday, but still far too early to be awake on a Sunday morning. And you know what? I know I haven't had a lot of sleep over the last few days, but I swear to God, I just saw a pink Lego Cadillac followed by Mickey Mouse dancing in front of some water fountains for what felt like 3 hours. But, I could be hallucinating at this point, I'm not going to lie. Shall we talk about some racing? Before we do that, though, remember to like and subscribe, and of course, a huge shout out to our wonderful members: Dakota the Joyous Chain from Myers, Simon Strudel, Michael Johnson, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Sarah Jowett, Andy Jones, and Facetious Badger. If you want to become a member, you can click the link in the description down below. Now, let's talk about some racing, starting, I guess, at the start, if we must. We go to the grid. World Championship leader Lando Norris on pole position after an incredible pole lap for him yesterday. Max Verstappen alongside him. Max still currently third in the championship. Needed to make sure that Lando Norris did not score 10 more points than him if he wants to stay in the championship hunt. Also in the championship hunt at this point is Oscar Piastri. He's second in the world title standings. He started this race in 5th place. Only one real change to the starting grid, which was Yuki Tsunoda. He qualified in 19th place, but he took a new power unit and started from the pit lane, trying to emulate what his teammate did last time out in Brazil, going from the pit lane to the podium. Spoiler alert, he didn't do it. As for tyres, quite the mix actually. Hard tyres for Hulkenberg, Colapinto, Albon, Bortoleto and Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, of course, starting, he qualified 20th. He starts 19th thanks to Tsunoda in the pit. Soft tyre for Antonelli, medium tyres for everyone else. And as the lights go out, it is a hugely aggressive start from Lando Norris. I do think Lando did get the better start when the graphics showed up on the side. He did get the better start, but immediately cuts right across the track to block Max Verstappen. And then as he goes into turn 1, goes far too deep. Outside of turn 1, Max is alongside and passes him for the lead. Then coming out of turn 2, George Russell is also alongside him and passes him as well. So Norris going from first to third in the first few corners there. The big gainers of the first lap, though, were both Lewis Hamilton and Ollie Behrman, both of them gaining 6 places in the opening lap. Behrman up to 8th, Hamilton up to 13th. But this was mainly because there was quite a lot of mess behind them. Liam Lawson had gained a few positions. He was doing quite well, but also had front wing damage to the point that the front wing was getting stuck under the tyres and locking up his tyres as he went along. There was virtual safety car for debris. Lance Stroll was out. Yuki Tsunoda had pit again after starting in the pit lane. On the replay, we see that Gabriel Bortoleto went for quite an audacious dive bomb into turn 1 and hit Lance Stroll. Then Lance Stroll went into Pierre Gasly, both of them spinning there. Gasly once again having a great qualifying in Las Vegas, but that his race was basically over from the first corner. He would go on to finish the race, but not particularly highly. Liam Lawson also had a similar move to Bortoleto, but on Piastri. Piastri, though, lucky to get away with it, realistically. I don't think he had any serious damage from there, unlike Stroll, who had to retire the car. And you know what? I feel so bad for Stroll, because he had some great pace this weekend. We saw yesterday in qualifying there was many moments where he was top of the leaderboard. Then Aston decided to go for that risk for the Inters in Q2. It doesn't pay off, puts him in the middle of the pack where realistically he should have been in the top 10, and then he just gets caught out by Bortoleto going for an audacious dive bomb. So audacious, by the way, that Bortoleto has been handed a grid penalty for the next race in Qatar. Bortoleto also retires the car from there. Moving on, though, under the virtual safety car, Kimi Antonelli pits off the soft tyres onto the hard tyres, and that would be his one and only pit stop of the race. He goes from here all the way to the end on the hard tyres on what I have to say was another incredible drive from Kimi Antonelli. And I really think, obviously, we'll talk about the penalty later on, but I think it's. I know the race has only just finished, so it's hard to gauge whether it is underrated or overrated. But I think this one's gone under the radar ever so slightly. It's because I thought it was an absolutely fantastic drive from Kimi Antonelli. We'll get more into it as we go on from there. Also, Albon is having a very bad time, as he has been for quite a few races now, but it's about to get worse after not a great qualifying yesterday after tapping the wall. Starts this race with a broken radio, so the only way that the team can talk to him is through the pit board. So real bad times for Albon in the Williams. Meanwhile, virtual safety car ends, and back to the front of the grid, George Russell has DRS on Max Verstappen, but Max actually deals with it really well. A few laps there of having Russell going quite hard behind him, but by lap 8, Max is able to break the DRS again and start to pull away. Meanwhile, Lando Norris nearly 3 seconds behind George Russell at this point. I think he was just trying to save his tyres here, though. Further back, Charles Leclerc passes Oscar Piastri for P6 on lap 13. Piastri already struggling with tyre graining at this point. Leclerc also passes Hajar for P5 on lap 14. George Russell says over the radio now that he has a steering issue. I'm not sure if this lasted the entire race or not, because I didn't really hear him talk about it much later on. It'd be interesting to see his post-race interview to see if that was a consistent issue for him. He definitely fell away towards the end of the race, and I wonder if that is an issue or if it was just the pace of the Mercedes, but did start to struggle from here. Meanwhile, in the mid-pack, I said Albon was having a bad day. It just got worse. He went for a move on Hamilton, but he got it all wrong. Hit the back of Hamilton. Luckily for both of them, it didn't cause a major issue. Hamilton seemed to be okay. It did break Albon's front wing, so that brought him into the pits to change his front wing from there. Then there was a 5-second time penalty here for Kimi Antonelli for a false start. Now, the replay that they showed, I think to the human eye, there was no false start at all. Now, Anthony Davidson on the Sky broadcast said that he'd checked it out on the Sky pad in super slow-mo, and apparently he does creep ever so slightly before the start. I know there's been this thing now in F1 for, over like a year and a half now, that even if you slightly move, it counts as a false start. But realistically, I don't think Antonelli gained anything from that. If anything, his start was bad. So I think a rather harsh penalty for Antonelli there, 5 seconds for him. There's a virtual safety car now as well for the debris from Albon's car. Once that ends, Piastri does start to move up ever so slightly, passing Hajar for P6. Russell is the first of the leaders to pit. He comes in for the hard tyres on lap 18. He falls from P2 to P7. There's a 5-second time penalty for Albon for causing the collision with Lewis Hamilton. Hajar pits lap 21 for the hards. Piastri pits from 5th on lap 22 for the hards. He comes back out in 10th. Lando Norris pits from P2 and is followed in by Carlos Sainz, who is in P3 at this point on lap 23. When Norris comes out, Russell is still ahead of him from there. Piastri on the warmer tyres is able to get past Sainz. Sainz did come out ahead of him from the pits, but Piastri moved past him for P9 on lap 23. Leclerc pits on lap 25 for the hards. Verstappen pits from the lead on lap 26. Now, when he comes out, Russell is only about 1.2 seconds behind Verstappen, so not too far behind at all. And you think maybe Russell with these warmer tyres will be able to chase down Verstappen, but Max just had it in hand there and just went for it, responding with setting the fastest lap of the race, and that was basically Max's race from there. He just setting a fastest lap and another fastest lap, then another fastest lap, as he just went and extended his lead over and over and over again. Lewis Hamilton pits from P5 on lap 30 for the medium tyres. Nico Hülkenberg, who had an incredible first stint, really quite long stint, he found himself up in P5. He pit from lap 31 there to go to the medium tyres. On lap 33, Lando Norris did a great job of reeling Russell back in and has DRS on him. And before Norris even goes for a move, Russell was basically giving up. He was coming over the radio being like, look guys, what are we doing here? Are we fighting this, or are we just thinking about the greater picture? He's like, basically, he's coming over the radio going, guys, I'm going to lose this place. So I just want to say before it happens, and a lap later, it does happen, and Lando makes it look relatively easy. The pace advantage he had on George Russell at this point for P2. There was a 5-second gap at this point between Max and Lando, and over the radio, Lando and his engineer are like, come on, let's go get him. But realistically, it was never really on because Max was just insanely quick, setting more fastest laps. And then towards the very end of the race, it looked like Lando was doing quite a bit of lift and coast, was quite low on fuel towards the end. So realistically, I don't think it was ever on for Lando. A lot of people will point to the start where he lost those 2 positions, and of course that's an incredibly important part of the race. But I think even if that hadn't have happened, I don't think the McLaren could have answered Verstappen's pace today. I think he was just the quicker man overall. On lap 37, Albon retires the car because his weekend has had to get a little bit worse. So yeah, a bad one from Alex Albon. Then we have this wonderful little battle at the end for P4. Antonelli in P4 with Oscar Piastri behind him, then Charles Leclerc behind them as well. The way that Antonelli and Piastri were fighting, that allowed Leclerc to catch up. Then Sainz wasn't too far behind either. Antonelli still on those tyres that he had been on since the virtual safety car at the start of the race, really defending well. And, it's quite weird to see that a few laps earlier, George Russell in the Mercedes is saying, oh yeah, I can't fight this McLaren, it's going to be the end here. Whereas Kimi Antonelli in his Mercedes has got a McLaren behind him and keeps him behind him for the entire race. Now, of course, it is slightly different with Piastri because Antonelli had that penalty. So realistically, Piastri didn't have to pass him. But, still a great job from Antonelli, who on those much older tyres, towards the end of the race, extends the gap again to the point that he was 5 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc, who at one point was right behind him. You thought for sure Antonelli was going to lose at least 2 positions with that penalty, maybe 3 if Sainz had caught up, but ultimately only loses 1, because as we cross the line, it is Max Verstappen who wins the Las Vegas Grand Prix, makes it 8 podiums in a row for him, makes it 6 wins in the season, which puts him only 1 behind both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri for the year. It makes it 69 wins in his career. Nice. In terms of the championship, it means he's still in this. 2 races to go and a sprint race. Of course, next time out in Qatar will be a sprint race. He is 42 points behind Lando Norris. So, we've been saying this all season, but still quite the mountain to climb for Max Verstappen. And, it seems like, if you're a betting man, all the money now is on Lando Norris because that gap is just so big. But I think what is extra interesting here, Max Verstappen only 11 points behind Oscar Piastri. What was the gap after the Dutch Grand Prix? 104? From that now to 11. It has gone very, very wrong for Oscar Piastri, and I know that's not breaking news to anyone who's been watching most of this season, but yeah, it has not gone right at all for him, and Max has just closed that gap fantastically. I'm just going to double check that points gap was correct from the Dutch Grand Prix, because I don't want to be giving misinformation here on the channel, but everything is loading incredibly slowly, so we might have to wait to double check that stat. 1 second, here we go. I can click on that, and championship. So after the Dutch Grand Prix, Oscar Piastri was leading by 309 points. Max Verstappen was in third on 205. So yes, from 104 points from the Dutch Grand Prix, the gap between Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 races later has gone from 104 points to 11. What an incredible job from Max Verstappen, and you also have to say, what a bad job from Oscar Piastri, who realistically has thrown this away, and I'm sure there will be plenty of time for us to talk about that between now and the end of the season, and the end of the season into next season, to say, the big question of what the hell has gone wrong. Moving around the rest of the grid, Lando Norris finishes in P2. There's a brief moment when you think, oh, this lift and coast is being quite excessive. Maybe he might lose a third, but realistically that gap was there for him. Makes it 4 podiums in a row for Lando Norris. Was not able to make it 3 pole positions into 3 wins, but still a very good result in the closing stages of the championship, where, this is all he realistically needs. As long as Piastri continues to underperform, and that gap to Verstappen is so big, unless he has a nightmare, he most likely will seal the championship in Qatar next weekend. So that is one that we'll be discussing a lot this time next week. In third place is George Russell, a very good race from him, and quite surprisingly, his first podium since his win back in Singapore. So a great result from George Russell. Oscar Piastri is in fourth, which shockingly is his joint best finish in the last 6 races. Has not been on the podium. You would get your grilled bonus burger though, because he did race. So if you're watching this from Australia, make sure you make your way down to Grilled for your bonus burger. In 5th place is Kimi Antonelli. Did finish on the road in 4th, but with that harsh 5-second penalty, he was pushed down to 5th. Again, I honestly think Max got driver of the day, but I think Kimi could have had it as well. I don't think he was even in the top 3. When they showed the top 3 for driver of the day, it was Verstappen, Norris. Sorry, was it Verstappen, Norris, and Hamilton, or Verstappen, Leclerc, and Hamilton? Either way, Antonelli should have been up there. The stint that he had was incredible. And when you see someone like George Russell was struggling on those hard tyres, the way that Antonelli went from basically the start to the end on those hard tyres, made them work incredibly well, held off Piastri, created the gap to Leclerc so the penalty didn't affect him. Real great drive from Antonelli, who makes it back-to-back very good drives after his incredible showing in Brazil. In 6th place is Charles Leclerc. Was not able to gain the position on Antonelli through the penalty. Carlos Sainz qualified 3rd and had a very good race, but I think just towards the end the pace of the other cars was just too much for him. He falls to 7th, but still a good finish for him. His 2nd points finish in 5 races. Isaac Hajar makes it back-to-back points for him in 8th. Nico Hülkenberg did incredibly well as well. Went quite long on his first stint. Converts it into a 9th place, which is his 3rd points finish in 4 races. So a real strong end to the year for Hülkenberg. Then Lewis Hamilton completes our top 10, going from 19th on the grid to 10th. Esteban Ocon just misses out in 11th. He does beat Ollie Behrman, though. His teammate is in 12th. Behrman's 4-race streak of points finishes coming to an end here. Fernando Alonso is in 13th, had front wing damage for quite a lot of the race. Has to finish up in 13th place. Tsunoda pit lane to 14th for him. Pierre Gasly is the unluckiest driver of the race, getting caught up in that lap 1 incident there, and I think for the 3rd year in a row qualifies in the top 10 for the Las Vegas Grand Prix just to finish outside the points. So unfortunate for Gasly there, who deserved a hell of a lot better. Lawson is in 16th, and Franco Colapinto is the last of the finishers. 3 DNFs on the day for Albon, Bortoleto and Lance Stroll, and of course the real driver of the day is Mickey Mouse, who danced in front of some fountains. It was mad. I think that's what we'll say there. So that is the Las Vegas Grand Prix. The headline reads, Max Verstappen is still in this title fight somehow. He has managed to find a way. I don't think he will still be in this title fight this time next weekend, but you never know. Who knows? It could be a Piastri, Norris, double DNF in the sprint and the main race, and, then all of a sudden Max has gained, I don't even know, 33 points would that be on them there, and who knows what will happen then. But yeah, I think this time next weekend, going into the race weekend, we'll be talking, can Lando Norris seal this World Championship? He'll have his first opportunity to sew it all up in Qatar, and I'll be here to talk to you about all of it. Between now and then, though, we'll have the driver ratings out tomorrow. Wednesday Fun Club on the Wednesday, as always. Until then, I will see you later. Have a good one. I'm going to bed now. Goodbye.